Hello, everyone. I'm Felix Barrett, and I'm a theatre director by trade. But I'm here tonight, this evening, very proud to be, because I truly owe my career to this school, to TEDxAlleyns, and the inspiration that I got at this place. I would clap, but I can't with this. 30 years ago, as a student here, I was a lot like some of the people here and out there. We're hungry to learn, excited, but I personally didn't quite know where my where my path lay, what my trajectory was. I hadn't really solved it. And so in my final year, I was doing theatre studies A-level. And as part of that A-level, there was an assessment which was a practical piece. And because in that time, most of my fellow theatre studies students were aspiring actors, it was the norm for it to be a monologue on a stage like this, declamatory. But ironically, considering I'm up here now and you're down here, this is not my sweet spot, and I actually kind of hate being up here. Really, my place is behind the scenes, out of the limelight. So I thought, I'm not sure I can do that. And what was amazing was that two very important people heard my plea, and they thought about it. They checked the assessment criteria of the exam board. And then Matthew Grant and Jeff Tonkin, two my teachers, gave me my first opportunity at directing here at TEDxAlleyns. It was an amazing thing. And not only did they say, hey, have a go at directing, they said, just do it, but why don't you try and break the mold of it, try and discover what directing can be. Pretty bold, considering it was my first chance. What I thought it was going to be was I would be there like giving notes to my fellow classmates as they do their Shakespeare monologue, giving them some advice on how to move their arms. But that wasn't enough for Mr. Grant and Mr. Tonkin. It's very hard to shift the Mr. even 30 years later. They said, no, push, go further, go harder. So I ended up taking over the old gym over there and striking every single object that was in there. Then Mr. Grant and Mr. Tonkin managed to sort of commandeer one of the TEDxAlleyns vans, and we spent a weekend together driving around Southwark, going to refuse tips and just getting scrap metal, old sort of white goods, sort of fridges and the like, and bringing all of that here, building a mountain of detritus in the old gym, and then going to get 2 tons of sand and laying it across the floor. I mean, it sounds ridiculous. And what was crazy is that at the time I was thinking, why am I allowed to do this, let alone be encouraged to do it? But what was amazing was that was their whole philosophy. They wanted us to take risks. And in their words, they said, where better to fail than at school, where you can be caught and let down gently. So that was 30 years ago, and now I'm privileged enough to have really never stopped from that point. And we've now got shows we've got running in New York and Shanghai, and I've got to say that both of them include copious amounts of sand. So some things we'll learn here really haven't changed. But what was amazing about those teachers is that I really do owe it. I owe all of it to them, because at that point I couldn't quite see where I was going, couldn't see the path. And I really believe that if you can't see the location in front of you, then how do you know how to get there? So what they did, their inspiration, their enthusiasm, blazed a trail, and it's one that I've been following ever since. And really, obviously, it was amazing that they gave me the impetus, to build a show over there, but actually it was more than that. It was their whole attitude, and they gave me sort of central tenets to how I should approach my theatrical life and my life. So I wanted to share 3 of those with you. So, Mr. Grant and Mr. Tonkin. First one they gave me was to discover the joy in learning. Sounds obvious, but really, what was amazing was that they were as excited about learning as we were. At that time, they were teaching. They were trying to find the most obscure things to bring to the party. In the same way they'd encouraged me to deviate from the syllabus, they thought, well, we could teach the classics. Sure, it's important, but why don't we go to the outer limits? So they were also secretly on the side teaching us about obscure Polish theatre companies where the performers would be woken at 5 in the morning. They'd have to bench press a car engine till 9. They would have one sausage for breakfast. It's weird that I still remember this now. And what was important about it was almost not, it was the excitement that it was infectious. They were learning with us. And truly, they just wanted to feel it at the same time. And I think the main lesson there for me was, we were pupils, they were teachers, but we were equal in our curiosity about what you could do with the form. Number 2. They expanded my horizons, all of our horizons. They were fascinated by the depths and breadths, the extremities of theatre, like what's out there that you can't initially see. So again, the usual thing to do, the norm would have been on a sixth form school trip to go to the RSC and see Midsummer Night's Dream. Great theatre, Pross Arch, valuable, but that wasn't enough for Mr. Tonkin and Mr. Grant. No, they wanted to subvert it and undercut it. So we ended up instead in an abandoned prison underneath London Bridge somewhere, where there was a giant installation that had been created, labyrinthine, and it took place in almost pure darkness. It had no performers as well, so it wasn't even theatre. But what was amazing was that none of us had seen anything like it. And Mr. Grant is now a friend, and he reminisces about taking us all to see this piece. And coming out, he had his class size, came out, and suddenly the group had diminished. And he had to go back in and pull each one of us out because we were there almost awestruck touched by the artistic gods. Couldn't believe this was allowed to exist. And something genuinely changed that day. And truly, for me, that I can really place it on that day, because that was the point when theatre and school became dangerous and electric. And then that is really valuable. The third thing, they taught us to push boundaries, push. Does it matter if directing isn't the norm for an A-level? No. Does it matter if 2 tons of sand take quite a long time to install and quite a very long time to strike out of there? No. Does it matter that all of the audience who came to see it complained about having sand in their shoes for the next 2 weeks? Kinda. But no, for them, it was all about giving us free rein as young people to trust, to take those risks because they thought that is empowerment. And my gosh, they were right. So here I am, 30 years later, and I was thinking, well, they gave me so much. What if inspiration is empowerment, what can I give this room? So I thought about all of the things that they're impressed upon you, that people give you words of advice and pearls of wisdom, and thought about it, and actually, I think that's very valuable. And really, all of you, my advice is to take that, listen to it when people hand it over, absorb it. But I think you should do the opposite of what they say. So, in the spirit of Mr. Grant and Mr. Tonkin, I would like to give you 3 things that it's common parlance, things that we've grown up thinking we should do, but I think you should absorb them, think about them, and then not do them at all. So the first one is, they often say, don't run before you can walk. That, I think, is incorrect. Really, we should all be running now, because my gosh, life will evaporate before your very eyes if you sort of trudge through it slowly. You should run at life screaming. And I mean, sure, you're going to fall over. You're going to graze your knee, but think of the amount of land you will have traveled. You're going to have the wind blowing in your hair. You're going to have your heart beating in your chest, and my gosh, you're going to feel alive. 2, people often say, try not to make too many mistakes. Actually, I think we should all be making as many mistakes as possible. Really, that's the way we learn. Make the mistake, learn from it, move on with confidence. Some of my biggest breakthroughs have been when I've got it completely disastrously wrong. And actually, in the depths of despair, when you're like, oh, why have I done it that way? And you're at your lowest point, there's a real euphoria that's very precious. When you suddenly realize the light is there, you were just looking in the wrong direction. And then third, You've probably been told, make sure you don't, you stick to the rules, everyone. Yep, that has its place. But equally, rules are there for breaking. You should be breaking the rules of how you make theatre, break the rules of how you plan a lesson and you teach your pupils. Truly, as a company, the people we like to meet are the ones who deviated from the beaten path, because the stories, the images, the people they've met along the way, the experience they've gathered is so, so valuable. And that's where the real originality lies. So to round off this amazing day, just what to say. So firstly, to students, I suppose, to myself 30 years ago when I was here, you're one thing, my gosh, you have such an adventure ahead of you. It's phenomenal. And all I can offer is that think about that path. Even if you can't see it now, that's fine. But think about what you might want to do, what you might want to see, what you might want to be. It doesn't matter. But then think about what if you were to do the opposite, because then suddenly your perspective is doubled and your world grows. But then for the teachers in the room, my goodness, it feels like you have the greatest gift. You literally have the power to transform and change lives. Like my life was changed by Mr. Tonkin and Mr. Grant. You can adapt, you can build, you can inspire, you can transform. That is so precious, and cherish it. Sadly, 2 years ago, Mr. Tonkin, Jeff, passed away. And he was such a huge inspiration that I dedicated our most recent London show, and actually the launch of our new building here in London, to him. So in the programme, I made sure that he would be the first name you would read, because it's a profound impact. And I really hope that demonstrates the power of inspiration that he and Alleyns gave me. So truly, I hope for the teachers here, I hope some point in in 30 years' time, one of your current pupils, I hope they're on this stage thanking you for the inspiration that you gave them. From me, thank you, Jeff, and thank you, Alleyns.